He's a renowned international ambassador of peace who's been delivering a simple yet profound message for more than 5 decades. Yearly, he travels an average of 185,000 kilometers, reaching hundreds of thousands of people all across the globe, with his core message being that peace will be humanity's greatest achievement. Presently in South Africa, having recently completed a packed tour of India and the Pacific region, it is an honor to have in our loft Prem Rawat. Welcome to the loft, Prem.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you. How's South Africa been for you this time?
Oh, it's wonderful after the change.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I came here when I was a teenager.
In 1972, and
That's
you were
exactly
14
right.
years old.
Yes.
It was quite an interesting experience, and tell us why.
Well, I had traveled, obviously, and I didn't prepare myself for what was to come once I arrived at the airport, because apartheid was in full swing.
Right.
And everything was segregated. And so, you know, it was just very strange to just see this separation everywhere, because here my message always has been, we are human beings on the face of this earth. We're made out of the same exact stuff. And why bring in the differences? I mean, what is the point? But that's what was going on.
Right.
And so when I actually got in and they told me, oh, by the way, there's one minor detail about the events that you're going to be doing in South Africa. And I said, what? She said, well, you can't have mixed meetings. So, you know, you have to do one
Your
meeting.
meetings, you have to address segregated groups of people.
Exactly.
Right.
And I said, there's no way I'm going to do that. I'm going to have mixed meetings, period. So I proceeded to do that. Of course, because I was a teenager, I don't think they wanted to throw me in jail. It would have been a major international incident.
Yeah.
But they blacklisted me.
Wow.
And then I couldn't come to South Africa for a long period of time.
For a very long time, until the change took place.
Yes.
I mean, you were 14 years old and you'd planned to address millions of people. But you started speaking at 4 years old at some of your father's meetings.
Yes.
What was in your heart? What was this message, and how did you know that you needed to tell it to the world?
Well, for me, it was really quite simple, because I really wanted people to feel peace in their lives. Peace was an important part. I mean, the way I see it today, after so many years of doing this, is when I travel around the world, I see that human beings have abandoned humanity. You know, buffaloes haven't abandoned buffaloship. Dogs haven't abandoned being a dog, but humans have abandoned being a human, the humanity.
Wow.
And we are looking at differences. We're not looking at the similarities. And so I really wanted people to get in touch, because peace isn't just one thing. You know, peace is when a bunch of things are right. That's when peace happens. It's like a light bulb going on.
Right.
Well, there has to be electricity going to it. The filament has to be right. It has to be plugged into the socket. And then when all these things are right, that bulb will light up.
Right.
But not before that. And so when people say, oh yeah, just bring peace. No, a lot of things have to be in place.
Have to align.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it happens.
Do you think human beings really understand peace? And do they really want it?
Well, the beautiful thing about peace is that it's not going to come from outside. Peace is in every single human being. Every single human being. And so it's not like we have to go and mine it somewhere, or import it, or export it, or create it.
And it's not a state that's going to come over you and you'll suddenly feel peace.
No, it's inside of you. There's anger inside of you, there's fear inside of you, but there's joy inside of you, and there's forgiveness inside of you. There's hate inside of you, and there's love inside of you. And it just depends on what you nurture. You know, what is the difference between a garden and an abandoned field?
The other's being nurtured.
One is being nurtured.
Yeah.
You plant roses, you give water to them, you plant grass, you give water to it, and these things will grow. Beautiful things will grow. In the abandoned field, things are growing too, but those are things that you don't want to grow.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's as simple as that. People have made it so complicated. You know, when people don't want to do something, and a good example would be when we were young, and we didn't want to do our homework. Boy, we came up with some very, very fancy explanations, you know, and this is what people have done with peace. Oh, peace is impossible because how are you going to get all the people, 7.5 billion people lined up the same way? But I'm saying, well, excuse me, 7.5 billion people don't have to line up the same way because the peace is already inside of them. So it's not like some, you know, face has to be painted or some, you know, inoculation has to occur before peace will happen. It's already there. It is just a matter of nurturing what is good inside of us.
Right. The world is in so much turmoil and pain right now. There's so much anger, so much greed, so much war, and people think that peace is something they can actually war over to reach. How did we get here?
Well, this is a very clear example of what happens when the field has been left abandoned. You're looking at the field and saying, well, gee, there's weeds growing here. There's all this other stuff growing here. It looks terrible. There's garbage everywhere. Because we don't understand the importance of being human. This is not taught to us in schools. This is not taught to us at the training camps that happen with corporations. Nobody mentions it. What is it like to be a human? A human.
Wow.
And we need to know. We have gotten it so out of touch. We know everything about cell phones, but we know nothing about ourselves. And Socrates, long time ago, said, know thyself. And that's how far back already the caution was being triggered.
Right.
You better know who you are, otherwise the consequences of this are going to be something you're not going to like.
As we see today.
As we see today.
So, Prem, you've spoken in some of the world's most important places. UK Parliament, the Italian Senate, and you've addressed so many important people and large crowds of people. What is at the core of this message that you deliver to people, and how can they practically apply it to their lives?
Well, first of all, the practical application of it, you know, really begins with, again, understanding you're a human being. You have eyes. Look. Look. Look what's happening. Look at today. You know, I always say, if you don't understand one, what's the point in going on to two? Because if you don't understand one, you're not going to understand two. And if you don't understand two, you're not going to understand three. And if you don't understand now, how are you going to understand today? And if you don't understand today, how are you going to understand tomorrow? But we all seem to be experts in tomorrow, but we have no idea what today is. And we have no idea what now is. So, it begins with being a human being. You have ears. Listen. Right now, the biggest problem we have language, but we don't know how to use it. We don't know how to talk. Mothers can't talk to their children. Children don't listen to their mother. Mother sometimes doesn't listen to the children. Husband doesn't listen to the wife. Wife doesn't listen to the husband. The governments don't listen to people. People don't listen to the governments. And I mean, it's like, so what do we have ears for? What are we listening to? Well, we've got our earbuds, and away we go. Just cut off the world.
Yeah.
This is not a human being. We need to understand things, very, very simple things. We need to listen to each other. We need to learn how to respect each other. We need to understand that other people have needs too. I am the founder of the Prem Rawat Foundation, and we do a lot of incredible work around the world. But I have to some days just sit down and say, you know, I wish we weren't doing this, that this was actually just happening because of the goodness of people's heart, and everybody was helping other person out, you know. But that doesn't happen. It's like, no. People say to me, what are you going to do when somebody comes and attacks you? You know? And I say, of course, you're going to have to do whatever you're going to have to do, but don't you understand that that's not necessary? We don't have to get to the point where we have to attack each other. We have to kill each other, because whatever needs we have, one of the programs that the Prem Rawat Foundation has is we do food for people. And we have a facility in Ranchi, India. We have a facility in Dhading in Nepal, and one in Ghana, West Africa. So one of the things we did is we provide one-time meal, just one-time meal, to the kids of that local area.
Yeah.
And that area has been determined by the chiefs, so that there's no politics going on. It's very simple. But the main thing about the food is the food that we provide is the food that they're used to eating, not some weird thing that they don't even know what that is.
Okay.
So they get local food, very clean, very hygienically created and cooked, and I mean the kitchen is impeccable.
Impeccable, yeah.
And so what do you suppose happened in these communities? Amazing transformation, just one-time meal. And the amazing transformation was that for the first time, the children of this local area actually graduated from the school and moved on to universities.
Wow.
For years, they were stuck in school, they would drop out, never go on to university, and that change happened.
Wow.
Second change, because they were getting clean water, they were getting clean food, the health dramatically improved.
Improved, yeah.
And the third thing, nobody guesses this one, the crime rate plummeted.
Wow.
The crime rate plummeted because now people didn't have to go and steal things because they got that one day, one meal, and it
was
offset.
consistent. Yes.
It offset.
Yeah.
You know, just enough, just enough.
You're doing some work in South Africa. You'll be working on peace in Soweto. Tell us some of the events planned around that.
Oh, ever since I first came to South Africa, I always wanted to go to Soweto because they told me this is where people are that are from South Africa.
All right.
You know, and it was like, yeah, I want to tell them about peace. I want to bring them the message of hope. And so I'm going to be going there, and this will be my second time, and I was really, really excited the first time that I was invited to Soweto. And enthusiasm of the people and how they took this message to heart, because they've been through so much. And what they have been through, they did not need to go through it. It was a man-made calamity. It had nothing to do with anything else. It was man-made calamity. And this is so sad that we do this to each other.
Yeah.
Of what just happened in Paris. This is a man-made calamity of what's going on in the Middle East, what goes on all over the place, the things that people do to each other. This is not, I mean, even animals don't do this.
Yeah.
And we always say animals are lower than us. Actually, they seem more intelligent than us.
I'm very excited about this book. In fact, I can't wait to read it. It's called Splitting the Arrow. What is the gist of this book?
Splitting the Arrow is about a little story. And the gist of that story is this, that there was a man and he used to go exhibit his archery skills from village to village. People would come, everybody would applaud. I'll make this very short.
Yeah.
People would applaud and everything else, and he was like, oh yeah, this is me, and he was really proud of what he could do. And he would shoot one arrow, hit the target, he would shoot another arrow, split the first arrow, and so on and so forth. And then one day while he was doing his exhibition, at the back of the venue, he heard somebody saying, oh, it's just a matter of practice. It's just a matter of practice. And so this really irked him. After he was finished with his exhibition, he went back looking for who said this. He found a man with 2 big clay pots connected with the bamboo and empty bottles. And he went over to him and said, do you keep saying, you know, it's just a matter of practice? Just a matter of... He said, yes, it is. And the guy says, what do you mean? You know, all these people, this is me. I can do this.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with practice. So the guy says, let me show you. So he picked up a big clay pot. He took the bottle, and he poured oil from the big clay pot into the bottle without spilling
Without
a drop.
Without a funnel.
Without a funnel. And he looked at the guy and he says, now you do this. And the guy understood.
Right.
And he said, look, this is what I practice. This is what I'm good at. You practice archery, you're good at.
You're good at it.
So always when I tell this story to my audience, I stop and I say, I have a question for you. What do you practice?
Wow.
How long does it take you to get upset? If it's like that, that means that's what you practice.
That's
you're good
what
at
you
it.
practice, and you're getting better and better at it. Oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
okay, I can't wait to read this book. And I can't wait for you to read this book.